Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. Have you ever wanted to have a speedo right in front of the steering wheel the way you get on every other car? Well, now you can with Teslogic.
I will be honest, I haven't been that interested in having car modification stuff to test. There's been lots of conversations with companies about, do you want to test this or do you want to test that? But I was of the view of keeping the car relatively stock, because that way it just makes it as accessible for people who are watching videos as possible. They're not looking at my car and thinking, oh, would mine be the same, when of course I've done all of these changes to it. I don't think that really matters now, because my car is already out of date. It's got the ultrasonic sensors, which haven't been fitted to Tesla since early 2023, so that doesn't matter. Plus also, this car is my long-termer. I have decided I am going to keep this and I'm going to run it. So I am interested in basically ways of enhancing my ownership experience. So this is where the little story comes in, because I did say yes to one company last year and said, send me a unit and I will review it. And that unit is Teslogic. And I shot a video, but it never got posted, because just as I had installed Teslogic, my Tesla was having computer problems. So I pulled everything out, the car went back to Tesla, it ended up with a complete hardware replacement job being done, a new brain. If you haven't seen that video, it's quite funny. And I basically didn't have long enough to review it, and I didn't reinstall it. But I think the time has come to reinstall it and have a longer play with it. What I'm actually wanting to use this thing for, you might be a little surprised, considering that it is effectively a secondary screen that goes behind your steering wheel. I don't actually miss having a speedometer there, or the lack of a head-up display. It just doesn't bother me one little bit. But what this thing can do, sorry, I'm just looking around the box. What this thing can do is also show you what your battery life is, what the battery health is, what your state of charge is. It shows you how the motors are working. So I think there's information that it's going to be able to read, which is probably quite useful. So in the box, basically, you've got a couple of QR codes to show you how to install the thing, and you get the thing itself. I mean, it is tiny. This is basically the bit that plugs into the car. You have got a mount, which I might need stickier pads, because that's supposed to go behind there and it's already been stuck and then removed. So I might need some new adhesive to be able to put that on. And then basically you get a wiring loom to be able to plug it in, and a panel removing prong to be able to, there's kind of a magnetic phone mount thing that goes on the end of that. So the idea is, if your phone is magnetic, and mine is, then basically it just attaches itself to there. So I'm going to install this thing now. I'm not going to film myself installing it, because quite frankly, I can't be bothered. What I am going to do is show you their video of how to install it, and then I'm going to tell you how much more difficult it was compared to theirs. Well, to be fair, with this and the instructions, that literally took 5 minutes. So that was pretty easy to do. I mean, as the video showed, rubber seal comes off, that pops off. This basically has got one popper, pull that off, remove that, and then it all goes back together really easily. Okay, we are going to have another go at trying to stick this onto the back of there and then the disc of the thing. And because I own a stationery shop, that means that I've got access to things like sticky dots. Now these are the peelable ones. If these don't work, I have got the permanent adhesive ones to have a play with. I've now got the thing stuck on. It's directly in my eye line, so I've got the camera right in front of my face, so it's perfectly sighted within the gap in the steering wheel. So this is the main screen, which shows basically the fact that I'm in park. If I put it into drive, it shifts and the middle of it becomes a nice big speedometer. You have got the kilowatts being used over on the left hand side, which will obviously update, and then range, as well as a speed display. Just to quickly run through the different menus, there is a map. I don't think I'll ever use the map. This is much more interesting, which is basically showing you power consumption. So you can see there is 41% in the battery, and it is it says 21 degrees C. Is that the battery temperature that's 21 degrees C? Because it certainly isn't 21 outside, it is 18, but anyway. And it shows you basically power use in the rear motor and the front motor at different times, which is going to be interesting. So I already know that this car is rear wheel drive biased, so it uses rear wheel drive most of the time. The front motor comes in when it's needed for acceleration, for deceleration, and for traction. So it's rear wheel drive biased, but it then shows you basically where it's discharging power. So as you can see at the moment, it is discharging power into others. We can't actually tap others and see what that is, but then there's also showing you things like battery heating, climate control, seat heating, all of those other things. So that's going to be interesting as we go. There is a doofer here showing things like 0 to 40, 0 to 60, maximum horsepower and current horsepower. That could be fun when we get going. And then it looks like a G meter. Ah yeah, so the battery is 21 degrees. Okay, that's interesting. And then you have got various things on here telling you about the car. Happily, it has hidden my VIN number, so you can't read that. And then it's got a date on there of the 25th of July, when my car was born in 2022. Good to know. Various other settings. So the hardware settings, hardware 3.0. Maximum motor power, 462 horsepower. I've done videos about that. I think 462 horsepower is quite a lot for a car of this type. Version 1 boombox installed. Interesting. Genuinely no idea what that is. And then battery. So as we've already talked about, I have got a tiny little bit of battery degradation, and that is something that I think I can probably sort out with a little bit of cell balancing. So I've got 6 millivolts of imbalance. We can have a fiddle around with that number, and we basically, I think, if I go into the service mode and do the battery calibration, that I would hope is going to take a little bit of that off. So we'll see what we do. But I mean, 5% degradation on how much have we done? 32, nearly 33,000 miles. Okay, so available capacity of 74.8 from 78.8. So yeah, we've lost 4 kilowatt hours according to that. And then energy basically just shows you the entirety of all of the energy use that I've had. So you can see 38% of my charging has been on fast chargers, which is not remotely a surprise. And then my lifetime average, this is good because I lost this when I had the computer replaced. The lifetime average showing 286 watt hours per mile. And then finally, oh, that is the energy chart. Okay, fine. So and that's just the battery thing, isn't it? And then you've just got a load of settings and things that you can mess around with in here. Good. Nerds mode. Yes, I'm nerd. Well, I am a nerd. Okay. No, I don't actually know what any of that does, so we will unnerd myself. Screens. Okay, yeah. So you can fiddle around with. You can fiddle around with the settings and things like that, and change the order of the screens. Well, that's probably helpful. So let's go for a bit of a drive.
So I have set the camera up into a slightly unusual and frankly quite annoying position in the car, but I've done it so that you can see the Teslogic app running on my phone, which is now on the mount which has been installed behind the steering wheel. First impressions? Well, this isn't exactly my first impressions. I have driven around with the app running to get used to it, to basically see what it can do. I think the first thing to add is that I have got it on large icons mode for this home screen, because I don't think you need a huge amount of information on this screen, and you could put more on there if you really wanted to. I have just got this basically set up as a speedometer, and primarily the number one thing that people talk about with Tesla is the fact that there isn't a screen right in front of you and that, oh, the speedo's off to the side and it's in the wrong place. So this very, very simply puts a speedo right in front of you behind the steering wheel where you might be expecting it, directly in your line of sight, and it's very, very good at it. It also shows you the speed of the road, so 60 miles an hour. There's a green ring around it, which I've worked out basically is showing you your speed in relation to the speed limit. So if you go above it, it goes red. There is also autopilot messages will come up, such as now. So I've gone into autopilot and the whole thing has gone blue, and there's a blue steering wheel thing on there as well. And then on the right hand side, it shows you both your official range and its estimated range. Now I can't work out where that estimated range comes from, but for the fact that it keeps jumping up and down, it's some kind of very live indication based on the way that you're actually driving the car. And then there's this interesting screen here which is showing you basically energy use. Okay, and the energy use bit is, I think, one of the more interesting things on here. Although what I would say is that the fonts on it are ludicrously small to be actually any usable. You can just about see what's going on, but what this really needs Teslogic to do is to, and maybe it's already there available, but I didn't see it on their website, is basically to come up with bigger graphics for this section, basically, so that you can see it much better. On the right hand side, okay, on the right hand side, it shows you the amount of power that you are using in horsepower. And when you're using power, it goes green, and when you're regenerating power, it goes white. And that is the direct opposite of what the car shows, because as you know, when you are burning power, the bar goes white, and on here it's green, and then when you lift off, this goes green and that goes white. I don't get that. I really don't get that. There are some odd things about the way that it's set up. It also shows you some interesting different things on here as well. So if I was to indicate, it flashes green on there, okay? And if there was somebody in my blind spot, that also goes red to warn you that somebody is there. That is a really, really useful thing to have directly in front of you. So there's a whole load of information on here which, if you want a head-up display slash speed thing right in front of you, then this is a really good one. For me, there are some software features that I would like them to do, but as it is software and not hardware, I see no reason at all why we couldn't have them. And I am going to feed back to Teslogic to say, hey guys, how about if you were able to do this? So that'd be quite interesting to see. Let's go down here. That'd be quite interesting to see in terms of what else they can add in terms of additional features, because again, the hardware is most definitely there. The little box that's plugged into the car, it's completely tucked away. You'd never know it was there. It was very, very easy to install, and I actually find this to be unintrusive. So I really wanted to keep this car as relatively OEM as I could do. I actually think this is absolutely fine. And of course, as it's your phone display, you could probably put various other things up onto it if you really, really wanted to. So all in all, I actually think this could be a solution for an awful lot of people. And the good news is that Teslogic will give you a 10% discount on this product if you use my affiliate link, which is on the screen now. So if you want to buy one of these and you want to get a discount, use the code and off you go. So you're going to see this appear in various videos then going forward. I am going to leave this installed. I am going to use it for a variety of different things. I'm certainly going to have to test the 0 to 40 and 0 to 60 things. that could be quite interesting. And on that note, I think we're going to leave it here. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is a display behind the steering wheel something that you think your car needs, or it's one of the things that would put you off buying a Tesla because it isn't there? Again, let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting to know what the opinion is of the community of lovely people who watch my videos as to whether you think something like this adds to the experience, because that is very specifically now what I am looking to do. This is my long-term car, my keeper. I am going to keep running this and running this and running this. So I am looking at products which enhance the experience. So on that cheery note, we're going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.